Yeah. Brakathum Yahweh, Brakathum Yahweh Shai, Brakathum Yahweh, Brakathum Yahweh Shai, Call Loyum Yahweh, Basham Yahweh Shai, Basham, Brakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who rule well. Salutations to the Akim and the four ones preaching in truth and sincerity, risking their lives more now than ever. The hopeful elect, the elect. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel and have come back to the fold. Shalom to the sisters, the Akwathium, who have come back to the fold. Shalom. Hey, this your brother Ram Yahawada with the lesson. And yeah, let me go ahead with this. Is Leviticus chapter 18, verse 25. And the land is defiled thereof. I do visit the iniquities thereof upon it. Right? So the Lord was basically speaking through Moses to the Israelites going into the land of Canaan to take over the land that he promised Abraham, right? Which basically by default was the inheritance of Israel. So he's saying, look, this land is, you know, I'm God. This is that place, you know, right? But it says, but it's not just that, because it says anywhere we go, wherever you should go, according to the Israelites, you're supposed to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. Well, so I will visit the iniquities thereof upon it, and the land itself vomit out her inhabitants. Right? Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgment, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, neither any stranger that sojourneth among you. Right? For all these abominations have the men of the land done. Right? So just talking about the Canaanite, they have done these things, all these abominations, and it was time for the Lord to allow Israel, as a righteous judgment or indignation, to be able to have military fighting and drive them out and conquer the land that was promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Right? And it says, yeah, men have done. They those men that was in there, which were before you, they done it. The men that were before us, they defiled the land, and the land is defiled, that the land spew not you out. So he's saying, when you go in there, do what's right according to my statutes, my judgment, that the land spew not you out. Right? Basically saying you're not special. This land is going to spew you out also. Right? When ye defile it, so when you defile it, it's going to spit you out, as it spewed out the nations and all them other nations that were there, that were before you. Right? Yeah. So this is Deuteronomy 11:9, and that ye may prolong your days. Right? Right, by keeping the law, statutes, commandments, like the other verses. You prolong your days by keeping the law, statutes, commandments, which Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, swear unto your fathers to give unto them. Right, talking about the land. Right, the land of Canaan. right, which eventually became Israel, because it was promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, or what they call Jacob, right? Because Jacob is synonymous with Israel, and to promise to give them, which is talking about the land, and their seed, the land, right, which floweth with milk and honey. For the land, whither thus goeth, talking about going into the land, but it's also wherever you go. Because what? The world was made for our sake. So no matter where you go in the world to possess it, is not as the land of Egypt, from whence ye come out of. So you're not supposed to do after the practices and the customs of the land of Egypt, right? Which is what? Homosexuality, um, you know, um, fighting your brother, right? Because Moses seen the other guy smoting his brother. He was in the wrong. Who are you? What kind of prince? Who said you the prince over us? Well, come to find out, well, Moses is the prince over you, right? So it says, where thus sowest thy seed and waterest it with thy foot as a garden of herbs. So basically, what I'm getting to is what? Wherever you go in the world to possess it, you was not supposed to do after the thing. But look, obviously, what? We defiled the land. Then we must have went into, was it so-called Africa, so-called interiors of Europe. You must have defiled the land. Why? Because you got spewed out of that land. So to get to what I'm saying is, Esau, because what? Isaac gave him the fatness of the world, and that he was going to get it by the sword, but he's still doing what? Wickedness. And there's what? Similarities in how he has to be spewed out of the land or out of the world now, because he took the world. It's not just the land no more. Now, because he took the whole inhabited earth, the earth had to spew Esau out. It's not just the land. The land has to vomit him out now. Right? The world. This is Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 12. For thus saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken, and are thus he that shall altogether go unpunished, right? Because what? The Lord told us that if we go into the land, that the land was going to spew us out, and it did. We went into slavery behind that. Now the Lord is saying the same thing to Esau. Now look, they who was not, because they were meant to be the chosen. They were meant to be my children. They were meant to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, and the statutes to stay in that land. But when they didn't, they went into slavery. So the Lord's asking them, shall ye is surely drunken of it, and are thus he that should altogether go unpunished. Should you go unpunished? Now you didn't put all this wickedness in the land. You defiled the land, and you defiled the world at this point, right? Not just the land, right? Because it kind of goes into it if you have the understanding. Thus shall not go unpunished, but thus shall surely drink of it, right? Which is talking about slavery, right? Righteous indignation, right? You're going to get the Lord's righteous. You are surely going to drink it, right? For I have sworn by my name, saith Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, that Basra, right? And that's anywhere in the world that there's Edomites, Russia, Australia, right? Canada, all these little different parts, Puerto Rico, Mexico, all where you Edomites are really actually ruling and pretending and guising yourself behind certain names that you're Colombian or you're Cuban or you're Puerto Rican or you're all these different other things, these different names that you want to try to tie to yourself. But the angels know who you are, right? The Lord know who you are. So there's no escaping the Lord. So that Basra, so that's anywhere in the world, shall, because why? Because how we know that is because Esau got the earth or the world by the sword. Going back to Genesis, right? He should have the fatness of the earth, and he got it by the sword. And Esau is the end of this world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. So Esau is ruling this world, which is Basra, right? Shall become a desolation. Basra shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, right? Because that's what came to us. And all the cities whereof shall be, perpetual waste, right? Destroyed. And that's exactly what the Lord said to us, right? Okay, yeah. I'm right here. It's Jeremiah 25:11 in the Bible Hub. So just to show you this right here, it says, I don't know why I just did that. But it says, this entire land will become a desolation, a wasteland. So this is basically what the Lord was saying. Because when you go into this one right here, King James Bible, it says, and this whole land shall be a desolation and an astonishment, and these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years, right? Because we disobeyed, and the Lord sent the king of Babylon, which is Nebuchadnezzar, and basically he was saying that the land was going to be a wasteland. The exact same thing that the Lord is telling Esau. Except for his thing is going to be a perpetual waste. But he was still saying it's going to be a wasteland. This is right here, Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 11. For the house of Israel and the house of Judah, right, which is dealing with the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, right, have dealt very treacherously against me, right, which is talking about the Lord, which thus saith Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right, they have what? Belied Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and said, it is not he, neither shall evil come upon us, neither shall we see sword nor famine. And that's basically the same thing that Esau is saying, right? Because the Lord's going to bring you down whether you want it or not. That's why he said, is he altogether that should not go unpunished? Like, what are you saying? No, you're gonna go. You should surely drink of it. This is basically what you're saying right here. This is Isaiah chapter 47:7. And thus saith, I shall be a lady forever, so that thus did it not lay these things to thy heart, which is lob your mind. You just said in your mind, I'm gonna be a lady forever. I'm gonna do all this now. I'm gonna have all this and that. I'm gonna be this and that forever, right? But you didn't lay it. You didn't lay any of this thing to heart. Neither did it thus remember the latter end of it. Wherefore, hear now this, thus that are given to pleasures that dwelleth carelessly, that saith in thy heart, I am and none else, right? Because that's basically what Israel was saying. Hey, we ain't gonna get no sword, nor the famine, right? So we said the exact same thing. We were saying the exact same thing, right? That saith in thy heart, I am and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, right? We was thinking that too. But now what did the Lord call us? The fatherless and the widows. Why? Because what? we're without a bride. I mean, we're without the bridegroom, which we do have him. He's coming, Yahweh Shai. But at this time, we're just a widow. Because the husbandry that we had with Yahweh, he basically cut us off. So basically, like you're dead to that. So now, as far as us being Israel, we're gonna get another husband. You know what I mean? We're not always gonna be a widow, but for you look, saying, I will not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children, but these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, right? Dealing with the day of destruction, the day of recompense, right? Which is also called what? Jacob's trouble, right? Because the other Jakes, a lot of Jakes are gonna get it, and Jakes are gonna get put to death, right? You know, so the loss, what it says, the loss of children and widowhood, right? Right? Because Satan is no longer going to be your husband. Because right now, Satan's your husband. But the Lord's finna dead that relationship between you and Satan. And you're not going to be in rulership, and nor is Satan going to be your husband anymore. I mean, it says, they shall come upon thee in their perfection, right? Going back to Job, right? In your sufficiency, right? When you're about to fill your belly, boom, shutting destruction in this perfection. That's how you're going to be destroyed. For the multitude of thy sorcery, right? Because that's what you've been doing. You've been building up this, building that, jade helm, doing this, doing that. You've been prepared. You've been getting ready. You've been doing a lot of things, right? You know, pushing your your propaganda machine and all the other stuff, and for the great what abundance of thy enchantments, right? Yeah, and that's ultimately what you've been doing, right? But look, you're gonna be destroyed. So it says, Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 8, and it came to pass while they were slaying them, right? talking about the Israelites, killing the Israelites. And I was left, that I fell upon my face and cried and said, Ah, Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, power, will thus destroy all the residue of Israel in the pouring out of thy fury upon Jerusalem? Then said he unto me, the iniquities of the house of Israel and Judah is exceedingly great, and the land, right, dealing with the land, is full of blood, and the city full of perverseness. For they say, Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, hath forsaken the earth, and Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, seeth not. Right? As for me also, my eyes shall not spare. So these are the Lord's these are the Lord's people, and he's not sparing them. So what do you think is going to happen to you, Esau? Neither will I have pity. Right? He's not having pity on Israelites, who the Lord said that Abraham is his friend. Isaac, he gave the promise to, and that promise carried down to what? To Jacob, where he chose Jacob before they could do any good or evil in the mother's womb. He chose it, right? So, but I will recompense their ways upon their head, and that's what the Lord is going to do to you. But somehow you think you're not going to get it. But yeah, so this is Job 22. It says, and thus saith, how doeth Yahweh Bashem Yahushai knoweth, can he judgeth through the dark clouds? Right? So you thinking, dang, it's darkness, the Lord can't see, he don't know what's going on, right? And that's basically what Israel was basically saying. Yeah, the Lord's, he's forsaken the earth, and he don't see what's going on, right? Thick clouds are covering to him, that he seeth not. So what, you think the Lord can't see? But that's basically how you run your life. You run this whole situation as if God doesn't see, and somehow you could just snatch it in, steal the birthright back, and then just stand in front of God like, oh, okay, everything's good, right? You know what I mean? Like if that, like even if you could, do you really think that's gonna work? Well, obviously you do, because you keep trying it. So it doesn't make sense. And he walk in the circuits of heaven, right? You don't think the Lord don't walk in the circuits of heaven? Like if he's not up there and he could see everything that's going on, but somehow this thick dark clouds are covering to him, and now he can't see, that he seeth not. You think, oh, well, hey, I think God can't see, but the Lord's just being facetious by saying, you know, what you think, because it's this so-called gross darkness upon the earth that the Lord doesn't see, or whatever you be trying to do, right? Trying to hide it. But that's the same thing Israel said. But it happened to us, and we're the Lord's chosen people. 49. And the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thus shall not understand, right? And this is what happened to the nation of Israel as a whole, right? You know, throughout the centuries, but then also the main was what? The Greek captivity, the Roman captivity, and then what this captivity now, which is being America, and all those, especially like the Greek and the Roman and even the American, their symbol is what? The eagle. And they had a language that we didn't understand. A nation with fierce continents, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young, right? But the whole thing about that is, yeah, that happened to us as Israel, to the so-called native when Columbus came over to Ephraim, over to Gad, and then of course Issachar, and then to those Portuguese down in Brazil that did those different things, unto the children of Israel. Went to the west coast of Africa and Europe, right? Because we ruled Europe for 1,000 years, and got those Judites and Benjaminites from Europe and from the west coast of Africa, and brought them to America, right? And as swift as an eagle flieth. But look, the whole thing about that is the Lord is going to do the same thing unto you, right? Because what did the Lord say about us? Let's see. Yeah, this is Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31. But they which wait upon Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles, right? So you came in as an eagle, right? And enslaved us, and you had a language which we didn't know. You came on ships, but you came on cargo slave ships, that went on water. But the ships that we're going to come in, the eagle, right? We're dealing with the unidentified flying phenomenon, right? Or UFOs, which we're going to fly upon like an eagle, right? Not just on a a cargo slave ship, which we're going to have those too. Watch. You know what I mean? They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. So when we come as eagles, right, we're going to enslave you, right? Yeah, because matter of fact, Joel chapter 3 and verse 3 says, and they have cast lots for my people, right? We're dealing with the Israelites, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they may drink, right? So that's the things that you have done to the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian. But what the Lord says, behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention. I will raise them up out of the places whether ye have sold them, right? So where all the places that you have scattered, that you have rejoiced and given us as gifts, according to Revelations 11, right? I will return your recompense upon your own head, and I will sell your sons and your daughters unto the hand of the children of Judah, right? Which dealing with it's the southern kingdom, but the Lord's meaning is basically for the whole tribe, dealing with all of Israel, right? But Judah has been the one who suffered the most, and Judah is the one who's going to be on top, starting with Yahweh Shai and King David, right? And they shall sell them, right? So you sold us, right? So you're going to be sold. They shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people afar off, right? You're going to get on cargo slave ships, but we're going to come in what they call UFOs. For Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai have spoken it, and the word of the Lord goes out and will not come back void. So what? We're gonna suffer similarities, right? Yeah. So it says Judith chapter 9 verse 8, throw down their strength in thy power, and bring down their forces in thy wrath, for they have prospered to defile thy sanctuary and pollute the temple, the tabernacle where thy glorious name resteth, and cast down with the sword the horn of thy altar, right? So this was what the Greeks came in, and because Israel was sinning, it allowed them to come in and come into the sanctuary and cast down the horn of the altar, which the altar was, or the horn symbolizes power, and the altar is where we got our power from, because we was connected with the Most High, especially during the time of David. And the Lord said that the horn symbolizes power, and he gave it to David. And since David, right, because Solomon and his old age sinned against God, now it's basically the house of David, we basically fell and haven't really been a full nation, because the nation split with Rehoboam and Jeroboam, and we haven't been a full nation since, because that power came from, matter of fact, go to David. Yeah, so this is Psalms 132 verse 17, and there will I make the horn, right? Talking about the same thing, the horn of David to bud, right? Dealing with power. To bud, I have ordained a lamp for my anointed, right? His enemies will be clothed with shame, but upon himself shall his crown flourish, right? And the Lord spoke that, and what King David, with Yahushua, which is Solomon, sat upon the throne, is coming back, and King David is going to come back, and the Lord is going to flourish that crown once again. But also he threw down our horn at one point in time through our sin, but when we're going to be restored. But guess what's going to happen to you, Esau? Guess what? Okay, yeah, this is Zechariah chapter 1 verse 19. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, what be these? And he answered me, these are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. And Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai showed me 4 carpenters. Then said I, what come these to do? And he spake, saying, these are the horns, right, which are the 4 horns, right, because we've been scattered all around the world through the 4 corners of the earth, right, which have scattered Judah, right, in the 4 corners of the earth, right, which is basically all 12 tribes are scattered. It's not just Judah, But the Lord's just, so that no man did lift up his head, but these are come, right? So this coming to a time that that the Lord's going to raise us up in the land where you have driven us, right, through all slavery, and we're going to raise up, and these are come to fray them off, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, or all these other nations and all these other places that where we're at scattered, starting with America, right? Which lift up their head over the land of Judah to scatter it, right? So your horn is going to be taken down. Our horn got taken down, which is our power, dealing with the time of the time we were in our best power was during the time of David, right? Because David conquered all the nations round about, and then Solomon was in, and there was 40 years of peace during Solomon, and pretty much been ups and downs until we into this worst captivity that we have ever been into under Esau Edom in the second leg of Rome, right? Of NATO, EU, and America, scattered around the world, right? So call Loyum Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakal Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to the Akim and the four winds, preaching the truth and sincerity, risking their lives more now than ever. The hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, right? Because we're scattered all around the world. And these are thousands and thousands of years. So you don't know who you're looking at. You don't know if it's an Israelite. Because we're talking thousands of years of intermingling and being in different places. So yeah. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To the sisters, the Akwathium, who have come back to the fold. Shalom, and death to America.